Well, let's go ahead and get started with our public works panel. My name is Paul Tavernia. I'm the lead business opportunity specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So yes, I'm with the feds, and we are here to help, despite what you might think. I'm going to be moderating the panel today. What I'd like to do is start off by having each of the panelists kind of introduce themselves, who they're affiliated with, kind of what their roles and responsibilities are.
Hi, welcome. I'm Maria Bernardino. I'm the Director of Purchasing and Contract Services for San Joaquin Delta College. We have a centralized purchasing department, and I also oversee the bid process for all the construction projects. And we purchase everything that we need for the college. Whatever you sell or services, I'm sure we can use them. And except for, we don't purchase the books or the merchandise that is sold in the bookstore. Other than that, I also deal with the service contracts for our food service area.
Good morning. I'm Priscilla Meckley Archuleta. I'm Director of Capital Planning and Space Management at University of the Pacific. That's a mouthful. And in my role, I oversee major capital projects. Those are the larger ones, and also deal with space management. We are a somewhat decentralized organization, so lots of different groups kind of can contract out to a certain extent. But if you're looking at large projects, and we're also a private group, so many of the things that apply to public works do not apply for private. So I'm going to try and give you a perspective on how to work with privates, particularly with Pacific, and I'm glad to be up here with everybody else.
Hi, I'm Steve Martinez. I'm from Caltrans District 10, Office of Small Business, and I'm the liaison, and I advocate for our local small businesses, disabled veteran business enterprises, and also our federal disadvantaged business enterprises, which are women and minority-owned businesses. I'm here to connect certified businesses with our buyers. We're pretty much decentralized within each 12. We have 12 different districts throughout the state. We also have a headquarters Department of Purchasing and Contracts. That's our centralized command. And also we want to connect prime contractors to small businesses as well.
I'm Piazza. I work for San Joaquin County Public Works. I'm the administrative assistant in design engineering. So my responsibilities are the advertising, bid opening, and award of all of our roadway, bridge, and solid waste projects.
Hi, I'm Wes Johnson. I'm the Engineering Services Manager with the City of Stockton. I'm in the Capital Projects Delivery Group. So I'm in charge of delivering the capital projects in our city's capital improvement program. The projects vary. Most of them are in the streets, traffic signals, street widenings, bridge replacements, but we do also do building projects, fire station remodels, tenant improvements, and so my division's in charge of having those projects designed and put out to bid, and then we manage those projects. So, thank you.
Okay, Wes, we'll keep the mic. We'll go into question number 2, and you've already kind of segued into it. What I'd like the panelists address, what types of opportunities does your agency typically have, and give some insight into the size and scope of the contracts associated.
Okay. Our projects vary in size widely. I mean, we have projects that are, anywhere from 75 to 100,000, all the way up to, the biggest one I've done since I've been here is, 48 million. We have, street projects. Some of them are minor, like installing a few street lights here or there. We install new traffic signals. That might range in the area of 500,000 or so. Traffic signal modifications, and then you go into kind of major street widenings, like you've seen, on Hammer Lane over the years, and we also have a project upcoming, next year on Thornton Road. That'll be a pretty good sized project, widening Thornton Road to 6 lanes, and north of Davis to Bear Creek, and also widening the last stretch of Hammer between Thornton and Alexandria. That'll be coming out next year also. So those projects are in the in the millions of dollars range, and then we have a lot of our projects right now honestly are small to mid-range. We also do sewer rehab work. So anything in the street right away. We have a lot of projects that'll be coming out that are sewer rehab jobs. We have projects like roundabouts, installing roundabouts, so that's probably less than $1 million. Traffic signal modifications. We also have sometimes we have a project coming out on, for landscaping the French Camp I-5 interchange. We did the modification of the interchange. We're just finishing that project up. There's a separate project that will be for the landscaping of the interchange. So really, I mean, and we did the Sperry Road extension. If you've seen that one on the south side of Stockton, that kind of right here off of, extends Arch Airport all the way to I-5 that also connects to the French Camp I-5 interchange. That was about a $30 million project. And we did the railroad grade separations, the ones you see, the overpasses over the railroads on 8 Mile Road, the underpass under the railroad on Lower Sacramento Road. We combined those all into one project, and that's the $48 million project I spoke of earlier. So we have a wide range of projects. We have some building projects, like I said. We did the city's emergency dispatch center a couple of years ago. We've done things like beam replacements on the Trophy Library, fire station remodels, new fire stations. Occasionally we'll have new buildings. Mostly it's remodels though. Modification of buildings for ADA compliance, those sort of things. So really a wide range.
Okay, so most of the projects that I deal with are the roadway, bridge, some sewer projects. Most of them are the ones that they have to have plans and specs. There's design and then it's put out to bid. But Public Works also has RFPs, RFQs for other types of services, appraisals, consultant, soil testing. It kind of runs from one extreme to another. We do, engineering does their own in-house RFPs, RFQs. A lot of our other ones are done through our purchasing department. So that would be vehicles, materials, or with maintenance. So it can run, you can find work at Public Works from anywhere between, I would say, $1,000 to $10 million. So it's a wide range of opportunities.
This might surprise everybody, but we have maintenance and construction projects on the highway. But that varies, about last year this time we were doing a lot of different interchanges. You'll see in San Joaquin County, it was Pellendale, I think upcoming, Louise and Lathrop Avenue, just a little bit south of us. But we do solicit and we look for our certified small businesses locally, disadvantaged businesses. We also have emergency contracts, when something goes bad and we need it done right away. Those range from $100,000 upwards to $1 million. And we do look for local small businesses to do that. In this last fiscal year, 5 out of 6 of our contracts have gone to local small businesses. So we are looking for more small businesses that can do that type of work. And on those big highway contracts, you see all that work on 99 and 5. Lots of subcontracting opportunities there. I know that's probably about $110 million worth of work there. We also have smaller projects. We just closed on all this new metering that's coming on 99. Those are about $250,000 to $300,000 projects. So if you do anything with electrical, that's a great opportunity. And then, we live over 8 different counties, San Joaquin, down Merced, and then the foothills. And we have different maintenance teams there, with facilities there. So we always need work done on those facilities. So if you have a contracting license, you guys don't mind driving to Amador, we'll put you to work.
At Pacific, we have 3 locations. One here in Stockton is our main campus. We also have a campus in Sacramento, which is right now just the School of Law. And we also have a campus in San Francisco, newly built, so not a whole lot going on there, public works or construction kind of perspective. In Sacramento, we are looking at doing a project that's coming up. It will probably be, it's basically a design build tenant improvement project. And we are hiring project managers for different projects that come along. So if you do provide project management services, that's something that we are soliciting for. We do not advertise as a private institution, but we do keep lists. So if you provide construction services, or if you're a consultant that would work on a construction or design project, please let me know that you're out there and what you do, and we'll keep your name handy in case we have some projects that are coming up. We are required to do competitive bidding on projects that exceed $25,000, but we are not required to advertise. So being on one of the lists that we have is the best way for us to know that you're out there and that you have opportunities to work with us. So we do have some upcoming projects. Some of you that are local may have heard we're going to be doing some housing projects. Those are quite large. We don't know how many or how they're going to come out yet, but that is one of the opportunities that exists. I already mentioned the project management services. We have some smaller projects. Most of the smaller projects, those under $100,000, are managed through our support services group. I'm with the capital planning and space management. So if you are interested in smaller projects, that's a different group, but I'm certainly willing to take your business card and pass that information on to that group as well. So again, getting on our list, making sure we know that you are out there and what you can provide for us is the way for you to learn about those activities and what may be available for you, and we'd like to have that opportunity. We do have a commitment to diversity, and so we'd like to encourage that on all of our projects.
Well, San Joaquin Delta College also has a couple of other sites besides the main campus here in Stockton. We have the Mountain House site and we have the Manteca site. Although the Manteca site is mainly agricultural area, we do use it for instructional purposes. So some of the opportunities there is we have quite a bit of maintenance work that we do in that area. As far as the Mountain House, we obviously also have maintenance and obviously any renovations that we may need to do. As far as the main campus, we obviously have a little bit more going on. We do have some of our projects that are being funded with our local bond, but we also have a lot of other type of funding sources that we're utilizing. Some of the projects that we just completed, so we are required to go out to formal bid on anything over $50,000 or over. And so all of our projects range, believe it or not, they usually are way over 50,000. But we also go into the millions. We completed some of the new buildings, such as our science and math building. We've had our data center, our student services, so those are major buildings. But we do a lot of renovations. We've actually next week going to be presenting 4 projects that are just went through the bid process. We're doing fence renovations and replacements. We're doing additional exterior lighting. We're finishing a couple of our gyms. And most of these projects are going to our local vendors. So, as my colleagues mentioned, you need to make sure that you reach out to us and let us know the type of work that you do. I also have a list that besides all the advertising that I do, as far as also posting it on our website and releasing that information to the builders exchanges, I also have a list that is listed by the various license classifications. So when these projects come up and I know the type of classification, I also make sure that those on that list receive the direct notice inviting bid and pointing you to where you have to go to view or download the documents on the website. We also handle the professional services, requests for qualifications, proposals, to basically contract with our designers, architect, engineers, different types of proposals. That's what we have done.
Well, we've already, the third question had to do with upcoming projects, but they've already pretty much addressed that. Steve?
Can I?
Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I don't want to jump on this other question, but some of our upcoming projects, which basically provides the opportunity is, and some of these are at various stages. They're either finishing, the design is being completed. Some of them may be at the Division of State Architect, who is our reviewing agency. So depending on when those projects are approved, they will be coming out, and then I will be releasing them to bid. And those projects are roofing of a number of our sloped roofs. We're going to be renovating our human resources area. There's going to be a soccer field relocation where we're going to actually have a new area. This is going to be artificial turf. There's going to be some improvements and some pathways to allow students to cross safely from parking lots to buildings. We're also going to be having what's called a pathway project phase 2, which is basically improving the interior of the campus as far as accessible pathways, taking them out to the outer pathways. That's also going to be probably $2-3 million. We're going to be having smaller projects like refinishing our dance floor and a couple of other rooms. There's also going to be landscape and irrigation repair projects coming up.
So right now Pacific has a few projects, but there aren't a lot of them. And we are private, so our funds are all raised through donations mostly. So we do have the hope that over the next several years we'll be developing a few larger projects. But as others have indicated, we're kind of like a small city, and we do everything from road repair work and lighting, electrical. We have our own infrastructure that we handle. And so whatever it is that you need, we provide. We don't have a hospital, so that is one of the things we don't have. But mostly we have all other kinds of projects and other kinds of work that are available.
We currently have 5 advertised bids right now. They're on our office engineer website. If you're interested in some of these bigger contracts, you have to get familiar with our Caltrans office engineer. It has tons of information on there. We have it looks like we have 5 different HMA overlay, which is hot mix asphalt. 1 in San Joaquin County, 2 in Amador, 1 in Merced, 1 in Alpine. And that ranges from $2 million up to $7 million. So I have the bid sheet or the list of different ones over at our table over there. So feel free to grab it if that's the type of work you do. If not, you can always contact me and I'll help you get on with our office engineer. So you can be able to check it out. You can also sign up and register on there. So when there are bid items that you can subcontract, it'll automatically alert you. And it's also a great way to meet some of our prime contractors as well. There's a free commercial you can do as an opt-in and reach out to different contractors looking for help as well.
Okay, so Public Works has spending programs for this year, put out about 20 to 25 projects out to bid between now and October. They range from resurfacing roadways, bridge scours, signals, sidewalk repair. There's, I believe, a water line. We do all of our advertising through the local newspaper, Stockton Record. We also put the plans and specs on our website. You can also find them at the builders exchanges. So I believe that there's some consultant services that they're going to be doing a request for qualifications for coming up to. And that can all be found on our website, when you go to the Public Works website. There will be, on the left-hand side at the bottom, there will be bidding opportunities, request for proposals.
Okay, for the city, we have several projects that I kind of categorized them as some coming out in 2015 and a couple in 2016. We have a bridge scour project, scour repair at McKinley and French Camp Slough. Bridge deck seal and joint seal project on the El Dorado and Center Street bridges. Small project, Cemetery Lane streetlights. Adding a few streetlights there on Cemetery Lane by St. Joseph's. Installation of a roundabout, Swain and Monavon. Sanitary sewer manhole rehab, is rehabbing a whole series of manholes in different locations. And a sanitary sewer line rehab. It's a system that we have where we, every year we'll be coming out with a project to rehab certain segments of sewer lines that need to be redone. California Street and Lafayette, at Lafayette and Washington, signal modifications. Harding at Center and El Dorado, signal modifications. French Camp I-5 landscaping. And then in 2016, the two widening projects, Hammer Lane widening and Thorn Road widening. Those two are probably between 5 and 10 million. Everything else I mentioned in 2015 is probably $1 million or less.
Okay, moving along. How do, or if there are any requirements for small businesses to get registered, how would they do that to do business with your agency? And are there any specific unique requirements involved in doing business with you? For instance, things like licensing or certifications, bonding and insurance requirements, any other unique registration requirements?
Nothing too unique as far as registrations. We do have some ordinances that have been adopted though that affect our bids. There's a local hire ordinance, at least and it makes a difference as far as how the projects are funded. A lot of our projects are federally funded, so some of these ordinances don't apply to the federally funded projects, only the local ones. But if there's no federal funds involved, there's a local hire ordinance, or where that if a contractor gets a job, at least 50% of the labor hours have to be performed by workers that live in Stockton. And so that's for, again, locally funded projects. There's also an ordinance that we have for a preference for local contractors. I think it's a 5% discount basically on your bid compared to outside Stockton agency or companies. So you get you take 5% off of the Stockton company's bids, and that may affect who actually gets the low bid on our locally funded projects. And I think it's and if you're a contractor in San Joaquin County, I think it's a 2% discount. So those local things do affect our bids. Bonds and so forth are pretty straightforward, I think, and they're on our website. Every bid package has the requirements and the insurances and everything. I don't think it's anything too special. But we do advertise our bids also on our website. If you go onto the website and under services, it's called Bid Flash. And if you click on Public Works, there's different categories. I think there's purchasing and mud. Municipal Utilities Department has their own projects sometimes. We have our projects in Public Works, so if you click on Public Works, and it'll list all the projects that are out for bid for Public Works, and then it'll have the plans, the specs, invitations to bidders, notice to contractors. It'll give you all the information that you need to contract with the city.
San Joaquin County also has a local hire resolution. We don't have percentages for bidding, but prime contractors are expected to hire local, especially for contracts over 200,000. It's mandatory. Under 200,000, it's strongly encouraged. For prime contractors, we would require $1 million bond. With the county named as additional insured. Everyone has to have their contractor's license. They have to be registered with DIR for our projects. And then the subs that contract with the primes, we don't hold any bonding or special things over the subcontractors. It's just the prime that we make sure everything is certified and in place.
as talked about before, each business must meet the requirements as defined for each contract, the bidding requirements, proper licensing, and bonding every time. Our preferences are for small state certified small businesses and disabled veteran business enterprises. They do get bidding preferences, and also in all our larger contracts, they are required to have 25% goals for small business and 5% goals for disadvantaged business enterprises. So that's a great tool to use to meet a prime contractor. Let them know that you are certified, you help them reach their goals. It's a great tool. When we have federal transportation dollars, we use our disadvantaged business enterprise, which is the women and minority-owned businesses. It's for any socioeconomically disadvantaged business. That's another certification. It's done by Caltrans here in Sacramento. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's worth it because out of the five bids we have out now, they're all federally funded, and we're seeing a trend for a lot of federally funded contracts now. And so they range from 7% of $7 million. So it's still a big opportunity. The process can be slow at first, but it's important to network and make business contacts with our prime contractors. Once the bidding is closed, you'll see on the different advertising, it'll say bids open, but that means that that's when the bids are due, that's when they're actually opening the bids in Sacramento. And the award is basically the next week, so that way there's time for any type of disputes at all. So it's pretty fast. And once you see who does get the award, that's also a great time to reach out to those prime contractors to see if they need any additional work done as well. And I would say don't expect to win the first time. It takes a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit of networking to get through in the contracting.
At Pacific, there are no specific registrations required. We do have a commitment to diversity. We also have a commitment to sustainability and to local suppliers. And for Pacific, we define our local suppliers and our vendors as Stockton campus, San Joaquin County businesses, for our Sacramento campus, Sacramento County businesses, and for our San Francisco campus, San Francisco County. We have standard requirements for insurance, bonding, if it's required for a project. That's information for professional services. We actually have on the capital planning and space management website the short and long form of our standard professional contract, so you can see what our typical contracts require. We have recently developed a small builder contract that is for smaller projects. That information, and we'll look to see about posting that because it too will include all the details relative to standard insurances and those sorts of things as well. But we do not require anything special. I think others have indicated the prime contractors are kind of a key to this, and so a lot of times that's a good way to get work is through those primes. And we do encourage them to look to local and other businesses that may not otherwise be working on the larger prime contracts or even very large projects.
For Delta, the requirements for procurement, it's basically just to make sure you have a business license or certification for whatever the products that you're providing. On the construction side, it's pretty much the same as the other public agencies. For projects, especially now with the new regulation, we are going to be looking to make sure that you are registered before, when you submit the bid. So you also want to make sure that you do that when you submit your bid, as well as checking your subcontractors. And again, just you have to have the proper license, and you are required to submit a bid bond, certified check or cashier's check with your bid submittal. That amount is based on the contract amount. And then after the bid is awarded, prior to the contract being fully executed, you will be required to submit the performance, payment, and insurance documentation and other certifications that are in the bidding documents.
Okay, next question, kind of along the same lines, Maria. If a business submits a bid, they bid on a contract or whatever, give us some idea in terms of expectations. And for instance, How long does it typically take for an award to be made? And are there some best practices or hints and tips that you might give businesses to help navigate the system to maybe increase their odds, if you will, of success?
Okay, for us, our typical timeline from the time I received the bid packet from the bidding documents from the consulting agency or the designer or facilities department, the typical time is about 8 weeks, and that's because we are required to advertise it for the 2 weeks. We also incorporate the time to have a mandatory pre-bid conference, and then allow enough time for you to submit written questions and give us enough time to provide at least one last addendum at least 72 hours before the bid opening. Once that happens, we try to have a quick review, analysis, and recommendation, and we do have to take it to our board for approval. So depending on when that board meeting falls, we try to rush it as much as we can to make sure we meet the subsequent board meeting. Once that happens, then the contractor, we also try to give the contractor who is being recommended at least a week before it goes to the board, give them a heads up that they are being recommended. We issue what we call the notice of intent with contingency on the board approving the contract, so that they can proceed to start working with their bonding and insurance. So by the time the board takes action, then we can have all those documents and have the contract put together and completed shortly after the board approval. And then of course we issue the notice to proceed. As far as best practices, what I would say is obviously again, make sure that you register with the IR. Become familiar with the agency's processes. We're public agencies, except for UOP, but you also need to make sure that you become familiar with their process. We have to follow the same rules and regulations, but there are some internal processes that may be different. So you just want to become familiar with those processes for that individual agency. Read the documents very carefully. For us, we specify mandatory pre-bid conference for all of our construction projects. That may not be the case for other agencies. So, if there is a mandatory pre-bid conference, please make sure that you keep that on your calendar. I can't tell you the number of times when I get contractors that come in, either after the walkthrough, and they may have that information incorrectly, either they come in the afternoon, sometimes the next day. So I really hate to see you lose those opportunities. The other thing is, when preparing your bid package, again, pay very close attention to all the details. Instructions to bidders is the key of what you need to do to put in that bid packet. It's not just the bid form. There are a lot of other documents that are needed. You need to make sure the bid form is completely filled out, signed, your license number. If there were addendums issued, make sure that those are acknowledged, because that may be one of those irregularities that may not be waived by the agency. If there are other forms like the non-pollution declaration, if there is a site visit certification, make sure that your packet is complete. Your bid bond must be signed by both the principal and the surety. The notary acknowledgement must be included. All of those things compose basically your packet. I know that a lot of the times these bids are being finalized as far as the number a few minutes or seconds before the bids actually close. And I know that because the contractors stand outside the door, waiting for that last minute. So, but make sure your packet overall is complete. So when you do seal it, then you know that you have a complete packet. Again, I can't tell you the number of times that we've had to reject bids because some of those items are missing, So again, it's really unfortunate that you take a lot of time, because it does take you a lot of time. It's a lot of work. And then at the end, if you're the low bidder and not get the bid because something was missing, it's very unfortunate. So pay attention to all of those details, and and don't give up. I mean, if you don't get it the first time, keep trying, and these are public bids, so you're gonna know where you stand right away, and, just keep sharpening your pencil.
Following the instructions is important to the privates as much as it is to the publics. So if you're looking at professional services, or if you're bidding work or providing us quotes for anything, follow the instructions. So if you can't follow those instructions, and ours are a lot more simpler in many respects than some of the public requirements. So just do the best you can to do that. And so for us, we do not publish bid information as a private. We're not required to do so. And we are pretty quick in reviewing our bids. If we have competitive bids required, to collect those. So on the smaller projects, it moves pretty quickly, a couple of weeks, and then we can go ahead and move that project along. We try not to go out for services or for construction work unless our funding is fully aligned. That can create some kind of glitches in the system if we have a project and we don't have all the funding available. That would be the case everywhere else. As a small private, we have a much simpler process, and we probably move a little faster in some ways, but even the large privates have very similar requirements to the public agencies, and I can't stress enough, follow the instructions as best you can, and if there are question opportunities, please take advantage of those so that you do understand everything if you've not gone through their process before.
I just want to ditto everything they said without repeating it. We feel the exact same way you guys feel. As well as to get a look ahead of what we're doing. All our funding comes from the California Transportation Commission. So that, that's a website you can visit, and you'll see what's upcoming. Once they provide funding for the project, usually about a month to 6 to 8 weeks afterwards is when we're putting that out for bid. And that's usually out for bid for about 4 weeks. So I always encourage everybody to check our office engineer website every Monday. That's when they update it every Monday. You'll be able to see what's out there and be able to bid on things like that. And then, like I said before, once bidding is closed, usually everything's posted the next week. So you'll be able to see where you stand. And if the prime you were working with got that contract, you should be happy. You should be contacting them right away. And if a prime that you weren't working with didn't win the contract, it's time to call the winning prime and congratulate them and let them know what you can do.
Okay, same with us. The package is so important. There's acknowledgement forms that have to be, signatures have to be notarized, bid bond has to be included, addendums need to be signed and included. There have been bids rejected because those items are not in there. Our process takes a little bit longer because we have to go to the board of supervisors. So we advertise for locally funded projects, it's 23 days. For federally funded, it's 30. Then we have the bid opening. Once the bids are opened, the bid tab with everyone's bid is available online. And then we recommend to the board for award. So right now I have 2 bids that are opening this afternoon at 1:30, and it has to be in by 1:30. They will be awarded on April 7th. And then award for April 7th. And then with executing the contracts, it's usually a couple of weeks. So construction would start in May. So our process is a little bit longer, but it follows a specific timeline. And usually everything is always available online. The results are available online as was previously mentioned, all the plan holders that are out there, if you're a sub, so that way you can know what you do, what you have available, write a bid to them, if they use it, if you're listed, that's great.
Much the same, I'd say for the city, make sure everything's correct in your bids and there are no irregularities. We have a fairly long process as well. It takes a long time when we have to award a contract. We also have to go to our city council, and it really is about 2 months to agendize on the city council agenda. I would say from the time we advertise a project to the time you might actually be able to start work, about 4 months, as a rule of thumb. from the time we open bids, about 3 to 3.5 months. It just depends. Sometimes if there's an irregularity and it takes us, and we miss an agendizing date, then it could, if the bid, there's something wrong with it, or we have to analyze whether we can waive something, then we might miss an agenda, and then you're out another, 2-3 weeks. So it's a fairly extensive process from the time we advertise the time. There's a time frame also that after we award, and then we have to cut a purchase order to the contractor, and that usually takes 3 to 4 weeks. So really, that's why it's 4 months total. And then what you can do that's in your control, I think, is again the upfront bid stuff, and then also after award, making sure that there's no delay in turning around signatures on contracts, turning in DAS 140 forms for apprenticeship and all that. Make sure there's no delay in that. That's really what's in your control. A lot of it is not a contractor's control. It's just our process.
Okay, we've got a few minutes left. We could probably entertain a few questions. Does anybody have some questions? Or you've been so well informed that you know all there is to know. Well, then I'll just go ahead.
Do any of your agencies?
The question was, do any of the agencies advertise on some of the public bid services like bid sync or public purchase? Is that what it was?
For our construction projects, we post them on our website, but they're advertised through bid board, and that's the service that it's for public agencies, and you can register for the individual projects to download the information and the chart. We are, for the procurement side, we are in the process of going with public purchase. That'll probably be available later this year.
We do not.
On our state-funded contracts, we use BidSync, which is, we're going away from that coming in July, and we're going to be on eProcure, which is the DGS's website. Michael Grillo is back there. Say hi, Michael. He's going to talk about doing business with the state, so I won't steal much of his thunder. But you can go on eProcure or BidSync for now, and check out not just what Caltrans has, but what each and every other state department has as well.
We don't either. We use Bid Flash on the city's website, and that's pretty much it.
Any other questions?
So one of the things that we do is, although we are not required to advertise for things, when we have larger projects and we're going to invite others other than selected individuals or companies, we do the best we can to reach out to the appropriate groups. So if it's a professional architectural service, we reach out to a local AIA chapters to let them know there's something available. When we look for design builders, we reach out to the Design Build Institute of America. So we do what we can to get the information out there so that people are aware that there is a project that may be available, because the advertising is not required, but we want to reach out to do that. And I think some of the other privates may do similar things, but private institutions kind of function however they are allowed to by their board.
Any final comments from any of the panel?
Yeah, I encourage you to shoot me an email anytime. A lot of times I hear from contractors and say, I do work. But let me know what you do. Let me connect you to the right person within our facilities. We're not centralized at all. We have a campus full of about 800 different employees, and about 800 of them have, 80 of them do have our Cal card. So, that's our Visa card that the state uses. Let me connect you to the right people. So shoot me an email, let me know who you'd like to speak to so that I can help you out better. Also, we have a lot of different information on our department website. We have a business tab, which will also include our division of procurement and contracting, the office engineer, which I've been talked about a lot, and also our office of business and economic opportunity. So that business tab is really important as well.
Seeing no other questions, why don't we go ahead and we'll wrap it up, and we'll get ready for the next panel.
So maybe, 5 minute break to
refresh, and we'll read you the board, and then we'll be back to you.
Firstly, I'm the CEO for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that you see back there. If you're interested in joining our chamber and getting more information about programs and services that we offer or procurement events that we also collaborate on, please speak to Tisha at the back. So we'll get started with self-introductions from our panelists, and I'm going to turn over the microphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Aguilio. I work for the state of California Procurement Division out of Sacramento. I help you understand how to do business with the state of California, where to find the contracts, or I should say the solicitation is the proper term, and any other questions that you have in regards to the two certifications the state has, the small business certification and its benefits, and the disabled veteran business enterprise certification as well.
Hi, I'm back. I'm Maria Bernardino, Director of Purchasing and Contract Services, and I'll save you all of that. I oversee obviously the purchasing and public works, and we are centralized purchasing.
I'm Concepcion Gayutin, City Purchasing Agent, City of Stockton, and I oversee the purchasing for the whole city, public works, municipal utilities, all the departments, and we are moving into a centralized purchasing.
Hi, I'm John Drake, Director of Purchasing for San Joaquin County, responsible for all purchase orders associated with the county, which includes the airport, the hospital, the jail. We have a lot going on, so San Joaquin County.
So John, can you tell us what's the frequency and the seasonality of your purchasing?
So we purchase, like I said, everything for the county. So the seasonality is there are certain components and commodities that come up at different times of the year. Of course, springtime is going to be heavy in construction and outside work, for landscaping. The hospital is pretty regularly buying throughout the year, so there's no seasonality there. Our behavioral health service contracts, where we do a lot of clinical work for the mental health environment, those are also regularly throughout the year. So there's not a lot of seasonality, frankly, except for some of the work responsible for the outside work.
We're the same with the city, so construction projects, mainly when it's not raining. Other than that, we have police and fire, that's 24-hour operation. Same thing with our municipal utilities department. So we are a pretty busy division, buying all the time. We'll just.
So as far as the purchasing of commodities and general services, because we talked about the public works aspects, again, we also oversee all of the procurement for what is needed for the college, all the classes, supplies, equipment. We have specialized type of supplies and equipment, such as in our welding department, all of the instructional areas, science department, electrical needs, technology is a huge area of procurement. General services such as window tinting, pest control, small type of maintenance jobs. We have, again, the service contracts for the food service area. We contract for them, but then they also just work directly with the vendor to release the orders as needed. So there's a lot of opportunities, as I said, for, I'm sure that whatever you have or provide as a service, we can certainly use it.
The frequency of your
Well, of course, there's a seasonality to everything that is done. You can't do construction in the middle of winter, or you could. But in regards to the state of California, we buy everything all the time. If you look at our website, e-procurement, it lists all of our solicitations, and we add on whenever we need something for the state of California. The procurements are added via the need at the time the department needs whatever it is that they require. Whether it's railroad, airplanes, fruit, it's all listed on an e-procurement, and it's done all year long, 365 days a year. We average about $9 billion to spend every year, so we're looking for products and services all the time.
So, Michael, with that, can you talk a little bit about how businesses will access the website and find out about these purchasing opportunities?
Our website is really easy to use, as long as you go to the right place. That's the biggest key. Over there on the Caltrans table, which I am sharing, there's a little brochure. I should have brought one so I can do the Vanna White and show everybody. It's called How to Do Business in State Government. Step 1 gives you the website. It's eProcure, www. You don't have to write it down because I'll give it to you. And it's on there on the table. www.eprocure.dgs.ca.gov. All the solicitations of what we're going to be looking for regarding products and services, we list there. So you go on there and you can look at everything that we're trying to acquire. One caveat though, to get full access to the system, you should register yourself with a username and password. Because you can look, but once you get a username and password in the system, it allows you more information that it wouldn't if you weren't using that particular username and password. The username and password that you're going to be getting in our system becomes your electronic signature. So you can look into the system, but without the username and password, it doesn't give you when we're having meetings and other information that you would be missing if you didn't get full access. So everybody can use it, but to get full access, you use username and password. That's all you need. And then if you want to do more, I'll talk about that later.
For us on the procurement side is we do require that you complete a vendor registration form, and we are in the process of moving to electronic form. So probably for the next event I'll have that information. The packet includes a list of the commodities that you can identify what you provide. In addition to, in the packet, there's also this green sheet of paper, which also has a list of commodities, but it's broken down by the specific buyer. Anything that is in excess of what we called our yearly threshold for formal bid process, and this year is $86,000, and that threshold is provided to us by the Board of Governors, then I have to do what's called a formal bid. And so those are, again, advertised and posted on our website. Anything under $86,000 for general procurement and general services are handled directly by any of these 3 buyers that are on this list. So you want to make sure that you take this list and see who your buyer is and make sure that you complete the registration form and send it directly to the buyer. That person is your contact person, and make sure you stay in touch with them, follow up, and if you do bid, make sure that and you don't get the bid, make sure you follow up and get a recap of the bid to know where you ended up. That's pretty much it.
For the city, we hold our own bid flash page. There's actually a brochure at our table, so you could access that. And we post projects there for anything at this point over $75,000. So we have a place for administrative services where we post our vehicle purchases, anything, requests for proposals for, let's say, if we wanted to relocate IT projects. Then there's a tab for public works for any construction projects. We also have a municipal utilities tab where their projects come online as well. But if you believe that, let's say, some of the services and products you provide would be under that threshold, then you can certainly send me an email with your information and what type of business or products you provide, services you provide, and then I can forward your information directly to the departments who would avail of your services and products.
Okay, so San Joaquin County has a website for bids as well. And if you just type in San Joaquin County and nothing comes up, and you just go right to the county's website, there's a link that says open bids, and it'll list all the bids. We have a half a dozen or so now, and we have a mental health service that we're looking for, some cars, truck, and some janitorial services. So like I said, lots of different opportunities. There's a process to register. It's through public purchase. I heard that being mentioned earlier. It's a kind of a two-step process, but it's free. You go to our website and there's a link there. It says register as a vendor, and it'll walk you through. And we have a handout over at the county table. Johnny and Lourdes, please raise your hand. They have information that can help you on how to register as a vendor.
Great. And John, can you tell us, does your agency have any vendor preferences, things like incentives or set-asides? And if so, what are the requirements around those?
So San Joaquin County has a local vendor preference. It gives any vendor that qualifies a 5% advantage. So you may not be the lowest bid, but if you're within 5% and you qualify and the other contractor does not, then you will be awarded the bid. To qualify for that, you have to have a physical business address located in San Joaquin County. So P.O. Box isn't good enough. It needs to be a physical address, and be able to prove that you have 2 employees that are residents within San Joaquin County. If you are a sole proprietor and you're a one-person shop, then you only need 1. But so it's 5%. It doesn't come into play a lot, but it comes into play enough that it's a good incentive, and a good recognition of local contractors.
For the city of Stockton, we also have a 5% local vendor preference, and that is if your business is located within the city of Stockton. If your business is located in San Joaquin County, we would offer you the 2% local vendor preference. We also have in public works contracts the local hire preference, and all those are specified in our bid documents and in our RFPs. So if we had federal funds and state funds, all those requirements will also be placed on there. And in public works contracts right now with the SB 854 requirement, there is a requirement for you to be registered in order to even start bidding on such projects.
Well, for community colleges, even though we are public agencies, we have different regulations regarding giving incentives, although that's something that I know it's in the works. However, this last year there's a new Assembly bill that was passed specifically for community colleges to allow us to be able to obtain at least 2 quotes for purchases up to $250,000 without having to do the formal bid process. So as I mentioned before, our current threshold is $86,000. But if I'm able to obtain 2 quotes from either 2 certified small business or certified micro business or certified disabled veteran business, then we can issue that order even if it's $100,000 without having to do the formal bid process. So we are encouraging our vendors to get certified. We do have to go into the DGS's website to confirm the certifications. And we have already taken advantage of this new regulation. It's actually something that is benefiting our local vendors, and I'm just hoping that in the future there'll be more regulations that allows us to do that.
Well, as you heard, there's a lot of benefits local, but the state has a simple process. Once you get certified by the state of California as a small business, we have a 5% bid preference across the board. I don't know, oh no, you guys don't need it. Okay, so in some cases, the certification that you receive from the state of California also has benefit for you in regards to local benefits. So it's on top of local benefits, not in this case, but in other, our reciprocity partners have that. So if you want to get certified by the state of California, there is a 5% bid preference. There is the small business and disabled veteran business option, which we can enter into contract agreements by going into the database of certified firms and awarding $225,000 for just works, and for public works, $281,000. So there's a huge amount of benefits for you to take the 40 minutes to get certified by the state of California as a small business. Before I even move any further, how many are you in this room are certified as a small business by the state of California? All right, a little less than half. So those of you who are certified, know your benefits, and those who aren't certified, when I look out in the room and when you're doing any purchases, I see those people first. The rest of you who aren't certified are not necessarily, you're not excluded from doing business, but you don't get that 5% bid preference and all the preferences that they get for taking that time to get certified. So there's a huge amount of benefits in regard to the state gives you as certified small business firms and or disabled veteran business enterprise firms.
So on that, Michael, why don't you speak to maybe what tips you would offer these business owners on a successful bidding with DGS?
Well, successful bidding with DGS, and I think any of these entities, is that you definitely need to pay attention is what is in that solicitation. So if they're asking for certification, if they're asking for bonding, if they're asking, including the state, asking for different things, then you definitely need to make sure that you provide those documents and or information that we're required. That's one of the biggest caveats that you can do as businesses, is take a clear look at the solicitation and understand what the requirements are. If you fail to do that, then you're automatically set aside in regards to we don't even evaluate your bid because you didn't follow the direction that's listed in the solicitation. Anytime you do public works projects or contract for any public entity, we're going to list what we want. You have to be in a city, you have to provide the solicitation, your response on college rule paper, whatever it is, just follow the directions. Take a look. The other thing that I would recommend to be successful for all of you is that you find out that we put information out on different websites. Know what they are and make sure that you register for them. If you have, if your business plan to say, okay, I want to do city, I want to do county, I want to do state, I want to do federal. All of us have different websites. Understand where to find those websites and register to get information if you want to do business with us. State has one, federal government has one. As you can see, the city and the private sector, like the colleges, you got to go straight to the college if you want to do business with it. What I'm trying to say to you is that there is possibilities for you to find work. There's a lot of work out there. It's just a matter if you're going to find the right place to look. And that's the key. You just got to find the places to look. And then finally, as she had pointed out, a list of contacts. She has a list of contacts, so do I, but understanding who the contact is. But there's a lot of benefits.
Thank you, Michael. As far as tips, obviously we already heard, register with the IR if you're a contractor, become certified if you're selling procurement, goods or services. One of the tips that I want to offer is, as a public agency, when we go out for quote or bids on items, oftentimes you see that we call out the name of a product or a manufacturer. Okay, we have to do that because the requester who is requesting it may be familiar with that, but by law we have to leave it open for or equal. And we know that there are always new products coming on the market. And the process that we follow, and you have to know that whether you see the word or equal or not, if you're getting it from a public agency, you can submit an equivalent product. What your responsibility is to make sure that you provide as much information regarding that product so that when it is being evaluated, it will be looked at side by side and make sure that those specs are hopefully the same or maybe exceed. And one of the requirements that we do with our users is if a vendor provides an or equal product and that product is lower, we have an obligation. We have an obligation to taxpayers, we have an obligation to you to consider that product, review it thoroughly, look at the specs. However, we need to make sure we receive that information from you. You need to submit cut sheets, specs, anything that is going to help us make that decision. And usually all of that is requested in the solicitation. So make sure that you include that information, as Michael mentioned. If you provide an equivalent product, but if you don't give us the information, it just may be put aside because there's no information to go and do the comparison. So know that you have those options, and don't look at the solicitation and just set it aside because you don't carry that specific brand. And another thing is, a lot of the manufacturers, they also certify or authorize distributors. So if you're not an authorized distributor for a product, contact the manufacturer. I don't know what their process would be, but obviously it would be worth checking into that so that you can become an authorized distributor for that product. The more distributors there are for those products, the more benefit the public agency has, because when I get a product, I usually go to the manufacturer's website, especially when a user is telling me, no, this is the only vendor where you can get it from. For me, that's a challenge. So I'm going to go to the manufacturer and look for distributors, and usually that's where I get to obtain the competitive proposals. And again, just to mention again, following the instructions, don't give up after you lose 1, 2, maybe 3. And know that the information is public records after either the bid closes or the award, and you can request a recap of those prices to know where you fell, and then where you can improve for future bidding opportunities.
In addition to Michael's and Maria's comments, be cognizant of the deadlines. If there's a mandatory job walk, it's mandatory, attend, because if you don't, then that means that we will not even consider your bid or your proposals. There's usually a time for when you can submit questions. If definitely you have questions about products, services, particular details, ask those questions, and then there's a timeline also for when responses will be made available through the website. And of course, submit your bids and proposals in a timely manner.
Well, Michael and Maria and Concepcion really covered it all. I only have a couple things to add. On the county side, I mentioned registering with public purchase. When you register, you'll be asked to fill in some commodity codes. Make sure you fill in all that even remotely apply, because when we do have a bid that comes up, you'll automatically get sent an email that says, hey, county has a bid that you might be interested in. It might not fit exactly, and you can always hit delete on the email. So that's one thing that could be helpful in finding out about the bids. And the only other thing that I would add on a tip to be successful is, as you're going through the bid, especially if it's one of your first government bids, and we put all of our buyers' names on there and their phone numbers on there, and I would call them, not the day before because you may not be able to react, but I would call them as you're contemplating the bid. Make sure you understand it, because government doesn't make it real easy on everyone, and so just talking it through with the buyers, I think, is quite helpful, and they're good at answering your questions and providing some clarity.
I'd like to address a few questions from the audience. We've got some questions that have been submitted here, and so I'll just put it out to the panel, and if anybody has any comments on this. What is the future outlook for green fleets in California? Is there going to be any special investments towards specific technologies, including hybrids or fuel electrics, CNGs or hydrogen fuel cells? Are any of your agencies working with such technologies?
I'll take a quick stab. The county has been very aggressive with that. They buy hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles, no Teslas yet, but a lot of Volts. There's a lot of grant money out there, and the county has been very aggressive in obtaining those grant funds, which makes those vehicles actually quite cost effective.
Similar with the city, we are actually after those grants as well. We have been awarded competition, sorry. So we have been awarded, a couple of years in a row now, and we have purchased such green vehicles. So yeah, we are looking towards that, and for now, we depend on the grants.
Well, as a college, we're a lot smaller, so we don't really have a huge fleet other than those that are used on campus. But we do have what we call the small electric cars, and we have actually also been awarded grants towards that purchase. And we have, especially our campus police, they've used those quite a bit because that's how they used to kind of manage around the internal campus. So we're definitely going in that direction.
Well, the state has several vehicles that we're using, CNG, we have the electric vehicles, we have biodiesel. There's a lot of alternative fuel cars that the state is using. In Sacramento, we have a lot of charging stations now, so that people can come in, including you, if you had one of those vehicles, and have a special place to park and charge your cars. So the state is using alternative fuel vehicles. And I think as we move forward, it's going to become more prevalent as technology changes and the cost of the vehicle prices go down. You'll probably see more and more people, including myself. I have a hybrid that I drive personally, so I'm sure that as that technology changes, the prices go down. Many of you will probably follow in that footsteps as well if you're not already done so. But yes, the state is using alternative fuel vehicles.
Michael, I think this is a really important question. Can you speak to the typical bonding requirements required for SPEs?
You got me. That's a good one. As all of you can see, that bonding is an issue. But when it comes to state contracts or states' requirements, bonding changes depending on what we're trying to do and the volume of the bond that is going to be placed upon you. So it's really difficult for me to give you how much the bonding you need to have or what kind of bonding you need. It all depends on what kind of solicitations that you are pursuing. It would also dictate the type and or the amount that you may be required to have. So, but bonding is an issue that all of you will probably face depending on the work that you have. As far as dollar thresholds, I'm sorry I couldn't give you more of an answer, but it'll be all in the solicitation. Everything that we require, like I said earlier, it's tailored for you. Hey, look, we want this, we want that, we want this. It's incumbent upon you to do two things, and here's a hint for you. One is to abide by all the things that are required, and if you have issue with that, then please let us know before the closing date of those solicitations. So when you take a look at it and you have, okay, well, that's not realistic, then if you send us an email, and I recommend you do it in writing, always doing stuff in writing. But don't call me up and say, look, I talked to Michael, and then you're talking to somebody else, and he said, well, he said it was okay. Well, you get it in writing, and then I might have forgot, oh, I didn't remember saying that. But the fact is, always get it in writing. That's a big hint for you. But the requirements will be always listed in the solicitation on what is required in regards to bonding. So I wish I could give you a better answer, but the fact is that they're all different.
Does anybody want to add to that?
For Delta College, we have the typical, obviously it's probably going to be different too, but all of our projects above $50,000 are going to require 10% bid bond when you submit your bid. And then if you do get the award of the contract, it will be a performance and payment bond, which will be equal to 100% of the contract amount.
So for the city, it also varies project to project, but the bid documents and the RFP documents will specify exactly what's needed. One thing though, whenever, let's say, somebody who's interested in the project asks a question, please know that that question and its response will also be published on Bid Flash so that everybody gets the same answer and responds to the bid and RFP in the same manner.
Okay. So, yes, Kelly here asks, are there any exceptions from certified people?
Exceptions from certified.
No, that is a requirement. Okay. then how about recommending some of the best ways to get in front of a decision maker for a demo or a discussion?
What's the best way? You want to start down there?
I think you should start.
I think communication, the best way to get in front of a decision maker is persistence. Coming to events like this, getting the business cards of the people in the room, follow up. Hey, who do I talk to about X, Y, Z over and over and over again? Reaching out and trying to have that conversation, and then following up, because maybe nothing is germane at that time, but 6 months down the road, there might be the exact opportunity for you, and timing is a lot. So I'd say just communication and persistence.
And then if you're in a bid process or an RFP process, the project will actually determine it. So if, let's say, on the first flush, it's an RFP, we're looking at the proposals, and then it looks like, based on the proposals received, we actually need demos, those will be asked. But outside of so within the bid and RFP process, you wouldn't necessarily have to volunteer a demo. Probably not a good time to connect directly with a decision maker, because that is not kosher when it comes to the formal bidding process. And then outside of that, yes, definitely, please continue to connect with us.
For me, the advice is get to know that agency or whomever you're trying to do give the demo. Everybody has a different process, so some may require that you go through, let's say in this case, a purchasing department where they at least are involved or no. Others, they may allow you to go directly to the users. However, in any case, just know that, make sure that if, let's say you go directly to the user and the user is indicating or giving you indications like they like the product, they want to buy the product and give you permission to provide the product, that you secure a purchase order, because you also want to make sure that you're protected. You don't want to come back and provide the product, send the invoice, and it's like, this was not approved. So it's, again, getting to know the agency's processes.
Okay, so one of the things that's faced many business owners and agencies recently are ADA compliance issues. Are there any upcoming ADA consultant opportunities with your agencies, or is there something that you're currently working on that requires ADA compliance consultants?
Well, I think every project, every construction project that it's being done, at least in our case, all of those things have to be looked at for ADA accessibility. And that is one of the reasons that our projects are submitted for review to the Division of State Architects. They review fire, safety, accessibility, and structural. And in some cases, we do solicit the consulting services for that particular category. One of the projects that's coming up, which is our Pathway project, has a lot of accessibilities, so we do have a consultant on board. So there are those opportunities, and again, especially when it comes to renovations and new construction, you can always guarantee that there's going to be some accessibility issues that need to be addressed.
Definitely with the city and our public works projects, you're going to have the ADA requirements. So even though it may not be specified in the documents and you're not reading it, you might want to look at the drawings to determine whether it's there versus not. And if not, then perhaps submit the question, attend the mandatory job walks, and start asking those questions.
The only thing to add on the county side, I think ADA advice is always going to be needed. The county did, just in the last 18 months, do a significant retrofit of many of its buildings. So we just got through with that, but that doesn't mean we won't have any more in the near future.
And John, we have a few more minutes left. Could each of you speak to maybe some
12 to 24 months. I know our hospital, it was in the paper the other day, there's, we're looking to replace the two towers built in the 20s, and that should be a significant project coming up in the next 2 years for the county. That's the biggest one.
So most of our projects were already addressed by Wes Johnson from Public Works. So we have all those coming up, especially coming through the summertime. For admin services under purchasing, we are looking for like relocation services, the architect, the installers, and on and on. So look forward to that. Other than that, the projects come as needed, so please continue to look through the bid flash page.
At the earlier session, I mentioned most of the projects that I see coming in the near future as far as the construction aspect. I also have some requests for qualifications and proposals coming up for professional services, and I'm in the process of releasing one for an arborist consulting services. And another one is going to be for environmental consulting services. So again, you know, those are all of those are going to be posted on our webpage.
We do have on our website at eProcure, there's a whole bunch of information for you, but there is one section there that says upcoming solicitation. It just got updated, 4 days ago? So I'm not exactly sure what's on it because I haven't really reviewed it. I know that the previous one we were looking for airplanes, we were looking for food, and there was a whole bunch of there was a 3-page document of all stuff that we were going to procure before it actually goes onto the web. So it's available for you to look at and decide whether or not you want to bid on these things. So it's a look-ahead report, similar to the one that Caltrans has, but DGS has one as well. We call it upcoming solicitations. So you'd asked a question earlier. That is your opportunity at that time too, and not to say that they're going to be actual decision makers, but actually reach out to the contract administrators that are going to be releasing these particular solicitations for bidding, for you to have an opportunity to talk to them directly prior to release. So that is actually, if you're looking at, I'll use the terms that she had, the decision maker, which there's more than one decision maker on all solicitations because they're evaluated in an evaluation process by a team of individuals. However, that gives you an opportunity to actually go and say, hey, look, I am a person who is interested. Here's my questions, or here's my qualifications. And then at the term, if it's under $255,000 or $250,000 purchase, then there is an option that we can use a small business DVB option purchase, to where all we got to do is get 2 quotes and then enter it into a agreement and enter it in a contract. So you just got to know how the processes work, and in sense who to contact, and utilize all the information that's out there. The hardest part, I think, for you, all of you, is determining where to look and figuring out how much time you want to put in that search. Because there's a lot of information out there, as you can see. The city's buying, the county's buying, the state is buying, and they're having all these different things. But trying to disseminate the information, find out where the web addresses are, and then search and then do all the extra work. It is time. But I think if you narrow down your focus in some cases, and that has to be a part of your business plan. Do I want to do business with the federal government? It's my plan. Then you got Paul over there. If you want to do business with the state of California, I'm one of the advocates. There's a huge one that's right here in your backyard. That's Steven in the corner. He just stood up. He told you, call him. You got questions? He can find answers or direct you to who should be talking to. So there's a lot of resources. We have advocates throughout the entire state of California. I didn't even bring that up. There's a lot of stuff that the state has for you, but I'm pretty formally in contracts. When you ask me a question, I'll tell you, then I stop unless you ask me more. And plus I'm on a panel, so I don't like to steal everybody else's time. So if you got more questions or concerns about how to do business with state government, which is a lot easier as your initial step into government contracting than it is to move on to the federal side. So start simple, then go strong, but understand your business plan. I know that I'm going to have one tip for you, and then I know you probably have that question coming up. Is that correct? No? Okay, a tip for you. You have to be, and that's something that we kind of glaze over but nobody ever talks about, but you have to be fiscally responsible for your businesses. That's something you got to understand right off the top. Because if you're going to get into contract with public entities, but you're not capable of doing the job, but you think, I'm going to go ahead and try it anyway, well, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because what happens if you fail, that's like a black mark on your name, and you don't want that. The other thing is the state of California pays small business, certified small businesses within 45, I gotta stand up, I'm sorry, I accident. We pay you within 45 days of an undisputed invoice. So what does that mean? How often do you pay your employees? Sir, every 2 weeks? Once a week? So what does that mean? I'm gonna pay you in 45 days, you gotta pay your employee in 2 weeks, or a week, or let's say a month. There's 15 days, a month, or more that you're not going to get paid by the state of California to pay your employees and or your suppliers. So what does that mean for you? You've got a cash flow problem. You got to understand that. So when you get into public works project, especially for the state of California, you got to know that. So make sure that you got a line of credit, or you got cash in your bank, or whatever the case may be. Because you can make a lot of money. Some of our contracts are 2 years long plus. Some of our contracts, $100 million or more. So there's an opportunity there. It's not easy to get into, and I don't want to lie to anybody here, but if you can and you do the right things, you get more of a, by following some of the tools that we have for you, it may be a little bit easier. I don't guarantee you'll find work, but it's easier. Like he had pointed out earlier, meeting the right people. So anyway, be fiscally responsible. That's the only thing that I really want to make sure you guys understand. Get on the websites, get certified. In fact, that's the other thing I recommend. If you qualify for any certifications, including whatever they're like local business certification, go get it. Don't wait around and say, I'm going to go get it after I found the bid. I mean, if you're here and you work, you got 2 employees that live in the county or the city, go get them. And I got to wrap it up. I want to say peace out to all of you guys. For those of you, there's another event tomorrow in Fresno. It's a high-speed rail event. I'm going to be there representing high-speed rail and getting people certified. So if you want to get certified, want to drive to Fresno, bring your documents and I'll help you get certified. Anyway, one thing I want you guys to do, I know I'm last, so I'm going to give them some time, but when you came through that door and anywhere I go, there was a cost. A cost. You didn't know the cost, but there was. You owe me. Yeah, that's just a joke there. What I would like you guys to do, if we have helped you, any of the panelists, any of the people in this room have helped you in any kind of way, please pay it forward. Pay it forward by doing a random act of kindness for somebody else. Share a smile, open the door, whatever the case may be, trying to brighten up somebody else's day, because it makes everybody winners. Right? So do that on my behalf. I'd appreciate it, because I could use some, extra. But if not, do it for yourselves. God bless. Good luck to all of you. If you want to see me, I'll be out in the hallway. Peace out.
All right, on that note, we're going to draw a raffle prize. This is courtesy of Maria Bernardino, so a big thank you for the raffle prize today. I'm going to make this interesting. I'm going to draw the third name that I sold out. So, let's see, 2, all right, here's the third one. And it's video image security. Melinda Cooper? Melinda Cooper here. All right, congratulations. For those of you business owners that have any other questions and want to catch up with us at the chamber there, we can also help you with